Hello and welcome back to the BowledOver podcast. This week we're going to be looking ahead to the 100 this summer and some very exciting cricket news and scores as well. So let's get into the scores and news first. So before we do the cricket scores today, let's start with the cricket news. So there's county championship action happening at the moment, going into day 2. And some England news now. England's IPL players are set to miss the first New Zealand test because the IPL has been postponed. They're scheduled to play, and with the quarantine period in England at the moment, they won't make it back in time for the first test. So a tough decision for those England test players who'd like to play in the IPL. Root's doing well for Yorkshire in Cardiff against Glamorgan, in Yorkshire versus Glamorgan. Jimmy Anderson has also spoken out about dismissing Marnus Labuschagne in his county championship match. He's been talking about it was like seeing a girl at a club, and he really wanted to impress Marnus Labuschagne when he got him out. Zach Crawley, England third batsman, has hit a half-century for Kent. Essex are well ahead in their match against Derbyshire. And Nottinghamshire seaman Harry Gurney has retired. Australia's Rachel Haynes has pulled out of the 100 after worries about having to quarantine when she gets back to Australia. New Zealand wicketkeeper BJ Watling is going to retire after the England tour, so he'll want to make that a very good one in the test. And Ashley Giles has said England tours will take priority over the IPL. Well, as we've just heard, they won't, but it'll be an interesting decision for those players who want to play in both. On the cricket scores front, there isn't really much to tell you. The IPL has been postponed. There isn't any international matches at the moment, with South Africa and Pakistan have been played recently. But there is county championship action at the moment, and the matches today are Durham versus Worcestershire, Essex versus Derbyshire, Middlesex versus Hampshire, Somerset versus Surrey, Glamorgan versus Yorkshire, and Sussex v Kent, all in the county championship. A lot to play for, and there have been a few differences in the county championship. Let's move on to that next. There's been lots of change in the county championship table since our last episode. Hampshire have lost 2 games and now don't look very strong at all. They've slipped down to 3rd, still a good position, but they got thrashed by an innings in both of their losses so far this season, and they look slightly wobbly with the batting. However, in their first match, they looked very good. Things have stayed the same in many of the other tables. Lancashire are top of Group 3 and Nottinghamshire Group 1. Gloucestershire looking very good this season. They haven't historically been very good in the county championship, but they're first in Group 2 at the moment, ahead of Somerset, Hampshire, Surrey, Middlesex and Leicestershire. In the Group 1 table, Nottinghamshire first, Warwickshire second, Worcestershire third, Durham fourth, Essex 5th and Derbyshire 6th. In Group 3, Lancashire top, then Yorkshire, Northamptonshire, Glamorgan, Sussex and Kent. Kent, a strong team, but aren't having a great county championship yet. And we are less than 100 days away from the 100, so let's get to that. So far this season, we haven't done much analysis on the 100, apart from that draft episode we did at the very start of our podcast, which we really enjoyed. So it's going to be good to do some more 100 analysis today. As I said, we haven't really talked about it, and I think we should be more, because it's going to be such a great tournament for cricket and the ECB especially, and it will definitely drive participation. I think that's very important, so that's what we're going to look at today. Let's start with how important it will be. I think it's going to be very important. The shorter format of the game will get more people interested. People who perhaps haven't seen cricket as a major sport before now become interested with the best players from around the world. As I've said, it's very short, very exciting, explosive, lots of big shots, and that will really help. As well as this, I think it's different. It's franchise cricket, which is we've seen in the women's game in England, but we've never really seen in the men's game. IPL, Big Bash, they always have the big name players from overseas, but you haven't really seen that in England before. I know we have the T20 Blast, but they don't always get the best players. I think they go with their county team, which is great. But the 100 will really make a difference, being city-based, and lots of the top players are really looking to get involved with it from around the world, I think, and that's really good. So this could become one of the leading competitions, I reckon, across the world. It's very new. It's never been played anywhere else in the world, and the ECB created T20, so I wonder if the 100 will become international, if it's a really big success. I think it is very fun. I really like the kits. The kits look very good. The teams look strong, and it'll be a very good competition if the ECB use it correctly. I also think the venues that they're using are very good. And I think the way the ECB have marketed it is brilliant, getting the women involved as well, having the same teams playing double headers on the same day, and the fact that the first game of the 100 will be a women's game and that it'll be on TV. I think that is brilliant to get more girls into cricket and more women. And I also think that it's really good that the BBC are televising it to get more people into cricket, because more people will see it on national television and therefore think this is a career that I can do and you can make a living from this and you can make money. And I also think that another great campaign from the ECB has been a thing called the 100 Rising, which gives 100 opportunities to young people to apply and then therefore helps the ECB by doing match reports, journalism, interviewing players. And I think that's really good in helping with journalism skills as well, commentating as well. And I think that's a really good thing that the ECB are doing, wanting to help out young people who might want to pursue a career not just in the sport, but in commentary, journalism, groundkeeping, things like that. I think that's a really good initiative, and it will really get young people excited who have seen the sport and who want to take it a bit further. I think that will be very good, and I really think the ECB have really done well to come up with something like that. I also think the ECB have done very well to get lots of players to sort of talk about it and sort of build the hype that the ECB really want for the 100, which I think is great. The question for the ECB is just going to be, once the first season's halfway through or done, how are they going to build up to the next season and the next season? Because I think one of the reasons there's so much excitement is that it's never been tried before. But after the first season, people might know how it is, and if it's an easy competition, then I think people might lose interest. The ECB are going to have to do a lot to keep people interested and make sure that it's still very important and high up on people's priority lists of their favourite tournaments of cricket, because what they want is people to tell their friends, because if you ask them what they did at the weekend and say, oh, I went to the 100 match, it was brilliant, it's much better than saying, oh, the 100 match, it was okay. So I think the ECB have done well, but there's still a lot more to do in terms of promotion and making sure that the competition stays very big. So yes, my overall opinion on the 100 is that it'll be great. The ECB just have a lot of work on their hands to make sure it stays a high priority competition. But thank you very much for listening. This has been BowledOver Podcast. We will link the 100's website in our description as well as their Twitter. But thank you very much for listening. I've really enjoyed talking about my feelings about the 100, and I hope you have as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one.